Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wayback Chronicles podcast. This is Steve, and I'm back with my good friends Noel and Keith. How you doing, guys?
Very good.
Glad to be here.
Good deal, good deal. Well, today's episode we're going to do something new, and this is our first time to have a guest on our show, and we're excited to have somebody that we've known for 30 plus years. Believe it or not, it's been that long, and we're really excited to welcome Adaryll Jordan. Adaryll, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from, how we know you, all that good stuff.
All right. Well, I'm Adaryll Jordan. I was born in Dallas, Texas in 1971. It was a good year. It's a very good year. I think Hard Rock Cafe and I were born in the same year. It's kind of nice.
That is a good year.
So,
interesting story about Hard Rock Cafe. The first one was in London. And do you know why Hard Rock Cafe was born?
No.
Because the guys that built Hard Rock Cafe lived there and they couldn't find a good burger. And so they wanted to introduce a good burger to London. I heard that on our tour last week. And that
Learn something new today.
And so now we've got even better. We've got a barbecue specialist in our midst. So who cares about burgers when we've got something else even better cooking from 1971?
Barbecue.
Barbecue.
So, yeah, I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas. And an interesting thing, I went to private schools. It was a long commute to whatever school I went to. So I ended up at Texas Tech University and learned that all the way across town meant 20 minutes. And I knew that this is the town for me. So I have no desire. I have lived in some large cities other than Dallas, but I am back in Lubbock, Texas, and this is where I intend to stay forever. A few years into my journey in Lubbock, Texas, I was of course, a part of the going band from Raiderland at Texas Tech University. And I met a bunch of knuckleheads named Noel, Steve, and Keith. So,
and the rest is history.
The rest is history. We are brothers, fraternity, and all the good things. And that's really, being able to talk to y'all tonight. I really thought about that. The idea of what that meant, the relationship that we have, that's part of what I love about the past. I think the past is a tricky thing. You can either look back at the past and feel like, man, here's some bad things that happened and dwell on those and let them cripple you. Or you can look at events in the past that were positive or negative, depending on how you're looking at it, and just say, hey, I'm going to let this help me understand how these events made me the person I am, made things the way they are, and can make things the way they're going to be in the future. And that's the way I like to look at it. I say I'm a history nerd. I don't think that's the right expression because I'm not as smart as a lot of the history buffs. However, I do enjoy studying history and taking a look at things and allowing that to make me more prepared for what's going to happen in my present. So I'm so glad y'all are doing this podcast. It's so cool. There's about 100 things that I can think of about the time period that y'all are talking about. And I'm like, man, this is going to be fun. So let's get at it.
Very good. Well, a couple things that will make sure our audience knows about Adaryll. He's a highly acclaimed saxophone player. And he's played his saxophone all over the world and not just in marching band, and still continues to play and performs locally in Lubbock a lot. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, as Keith mentioned, a bit of a barbecue aficionado.
Yep.
Just an example, about a month or so ago, we were at his place and we grilled hamburgers, which is not barbecue, right? But those were the best burgers I've had in a long, long time. And it was just a gas grill, but I don't know, something about the love that Adaryll puts into it.
Got the special touch.
It's funny you say that because when my kids, I'll tell them, I'll ask them if they want something. They're like, yeah. And then they're like, what is this? What'd you put in it? And I say, love. So
it's made with love.
Yeah, and Steve's not messing around. Let me tell you what I did with those burgers. I hit them with a Wagyu tallow fat binder with saltgrass 7-steak seasoning, and plus they came from a farm as opposed to just being from the grocery store. Yeah. And then, yes, it was a gas grill, but I also added a big old stick of hickory wood to throw a little extra smoke on that thing. So my mouth's watering still thinking about that burger. That burger was
wow.
That burger was the truth.
I'm sad I'm just hearing about it. I'd rather be there.
Yeah.
So
Sounds pretty dang good.
Yeah, and like Steve said, I've been playing my saxophone now for 43 years. I've played on 5 continents. I still got to make it to Africa and Antarctica, so hopefully I can do that in one trip. And then
I cannot wait to see the video of you in Antarctica.
Yeah, I know your allergy to the cold weather, Daryl, is legendary. So I can't imagine what that's going to be
like. Step outside the plane for 2 minutes before, and then hop back in. All right, let's go. Did it.
Did it. I'm done. Let's move on.
Get that plane going.
Yeah. And they might have some bleeped out words in that saxophone playing. I don't
know. No doubt about it. Like Steve said, Adaryll, you get to be the first guinea pig of our special guest. So we're really glad to have you on. And for those who know Adaryll, and for those who I hope get to the chance to someday, if there's anybody more contagious when they walk in the room about making you smile, I can't imagine anybody else. So I'm really glad we're starting off with you, Adaryll. I think this is setting the bar high, and I'm glad for it. So
it's funny. My younger brother Damon went to Texas Tech, and he went there. I graduated in 97, and I think his first year was 2001 or something like that. I don't know. He was there after I left. And somehow Damon and I both know Adaryll. It's just strange. I mean, I was talking about, I said, yeah, this guy that I knew at Texas Tech, he was in the band and everything. And I mentioned him. He's like, I know Adaryll. I'm like, how in that crap do you know Adaryll? But anyway, Adaryll is a friend of many people and one of the friendliest guys you'd ever know. And I think the world of Adaryll. So it's great to have you on. But so for the first question, wanted to ask you, when you think of significant events over your lifetime, what's the first event you think of?
Man, and that's a great question. And I grew up poor, and so a lot of times when I'm telling people about things, it's like, oh, that's a little bit different. We didn't get to go on vacations or anything like that, but what we did get to do is we got to go to, I call it the country. Hillsboro, Texas.
I know Hillsboro.
Let me tell you, I'm a Dallas boy, and you have to take all this Dallas out, and go to Hillsboro. Yeah. And I'm going there. It's an hour drive. There's no iPad to keep you company. You got to get your mind right,
Yeah.
Because once you get to Hillsboro, then it was going to be, cows and chickens and I remember one time I got chased and stung by a porcupine.
No way.
And then my favorite memory, and the porcupine was pretty significant because I'm like, dang, bro, you're in the country, you got to adjust. So that really taught me a lot about life, actually. But I got to tell you all about this because it was either the porcupine or the plums. Because what I would do is I would go to the plum tree in Hillsboro, Texas, and I just start popping them. Boom. They were the smaller, the mini sized ones. They weren't the big GMO sized ones. So I'm just popping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 28, 36. Just down until I would get myself absolutely sick. And then I would go, my grandmother raised me, and I would go just limping into her lap. Oh, I'm so sick. Oh, and I put my head in her lap for about 10 or 15 minutes until I felt better. I'm like, okay, I feel better. I'm gonna go eat some plums.
Reload.
That's some of my favorite kind of things to do.
Yeah, very cool.
Fun.
That is cool.
So the big town of Hillsboro is about to get a Buc-ee's.
Oh my goodness gracious!
There's an outlet mall there. In the hills, yeah. It's there.
Yeah, but I'm excited. They're gonna get a Buc-ee's. I'm gonna have to go back more.
Yeah, there you go. Get some plums.
Gives you a reason to visit.
That's right.
So tell us, what is your favorite childhood movie?
Look, this is easy. This movie changed my life because I didn't go to a lot of movies to begin with, and when I did, I was just like, "What's the big whoop?" Until I saw The Empire Strikes Back in the theaters.
Oh, you're speaking my language.
And I'm like, what just happened? Oh, my goodness. I didn't see Star Wars first. I saw The Empire Strikes Back first.
Oh.
Well, then that just changed everything. Then I had to go back and catch up with Star Wars, and it wasn't like you could just go download it on Prime, you know? Like, I had to wait and figure out how to see it. But then I got all the books and all the toys, and I was like, it's over. It's over. Empire Strikes Back, not even anything close. Easy.
Pretty cool.
How appropriate was it that Keith asked that question and that was Daryl's answer? Like it was
I feel so much more happy about
tailor-made.
this. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
It really was. It was not planned, listeners.
No.
Changed my life.
Very good. So, Adaryll, if you could go back in time, or go back to your childhood, what one toy from your past would you want to play with again?
I'm cheating. Ain't no one toy. I'm gonna let you know. Easy. Evil Knievel, motorcycle jump, boom.
Oh,
Yep. Electron.
the one with the crank?
Yes,
The
sir.
crank one?
Yep. You got to watch it fly. And then you got my electronic football set, my Huffy Thunder Road bike. They need to bring.
Oh.
I would buy one today.
Now is it a banana seat or what? Is that a banana seat?
Wide banana seat, enough room for
yeah.
your friend.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
And then the 1975 Super Toe Jock. You know that toy?
I don't remember that one.
What? No.
It was a stoic football kicker. Had his arms to his side, and the only thing that moved on him was his head and his foot. And you slam your fist on his head as hard as you could, and he kicked the football, and you'd have to, be strategic and make sure you made it through the end zone. So you got to look those up. The Super Toe Jock. There he is.
There you go.
There
Okay.
he is.
You had to post a picture on Facebook for that.
Yes.
That
I'm going to have to buy some for my boys. I'm going to have to buy another one for myself because it made me that happy.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
When you think of your favorite sports memories, which one comes to your mind first?
You could do a whole podcast on this.
I was about to say you're a sports guy deluxe, so this is a difficult question for you.
So this is Adaryll episode 1.
I'm going to predict it right now. This is going to be like some horrible Dallas Cowboys.
Hey,
I can feel it already. Here it comes. Brace yourself.
Yeah, a Super Bowl win of some sort.
let me take you all way back to 1978.
Oh, wow.
First Super Bowl in a dome stadium, Louisiana Superdome. Dallas Cowboys defeating the Denver Broncos 27-10. That's Roger Staubach over Craig Morton, who sucker punched him on the way out the door when they were both playing for Dallas.
Really?
Oh, wow.
My favorite memory within the game is a pitch back to Robert Newhouse, number 44, fullback, who threw a touchdown. MVPs were co-MVPs on defense, Harvey Martin and Randy White.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You just helped us because our next episode is 1978, isn't it?
There you go.
Yeah.
Look at there.
So there we go.
Spooky segue there.
Yeah, it was.
There was Tom Landry versus, I believe, Red Miller. I was like, Red Miller, Legend Orange. So I was scared. I was like 6, 7 years old, I think. I'm like, man, are we going to lose to Denver? And we did not. Defense. So love it.
That makes it even better when you know you win. That's really that. Okay, now from Sunday, we're going to go back a day. So it's Saturday morning, Adaryll.
Yeah.
And you are turning the TV on to watch what cartoon?
It has to be 2. If I just get one, it was a bad Saturday. It has to be 2.
Fair enough.
You got to have the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show.
Yeah.
And then you got to have Fat Albert. Hey, hey, hey.
Oh my gosh.
Have them both.
That was the great show.
That was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Like school on Saturday, no class.
So of all of the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show, what's the character you relate to the most? Which one of those guys?
Golly, I love them all. Relate to the most. I feel like in my frustration of adulthood that sometimes I relate most to Foghorn Leghorn.
I say, boy, I say.
You're a chicken and I'm a chicken hawk. Well, Foghorn Leghorn.
It is true. The older you get, the more you can relate to them.
Yes,
That's right.
so very closely by Marvin the Martian. So, nothing's going my way. But I love them all.
But those are 2 good representatives of that show.
Absolutely.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, Adaryll, it's prime time in the 80s, and you turn on the TV.
Yes, sir.
Which, what are you watching?
I gotta have some Three's Company, cause Suzanne Summers got it going on.
No doubt.
I gotta have,
Come and knock on our door.
I gotta have, later on in the '80s, gotta have some Cosby Show,
Yeah.
and then, and then somewhere,
Man, that show was so good.
oh yeah,
Holy cow.
Oh yeah, my
and then
goodness.
somewhere in the middle for the not so, for the more serious, I had to have Dallas. It's
Oh yeah.
felt there was a loyalty and allegiance to watching that show.
Local
JR.
show.
Say it again.
Local show.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about South Fork Ranch. I mean, I had to,
Yeah.
it was really cool growing up in Dallas because some of the places I went downtown, I'm like, hey, they just did a scene from Dallas here, like, so those I had to have all three of those shows in my life.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
I tell you, I loved Three's Company. Just the I think we talked about this before. The whole misunderstanding scenarios that thing had was so great. Oh my gosh!
You got to get a load off. Go over to the Regal Beagle.
I forgot about the Regal Beagle. Oh man!
Good grief! That's a blast from the past.
Oh yeah,
no doubt.
Before we went to this question, I mean, just Keith's point. I don't feel like the writing in today's shows is near as clever.
That's right.
It's just we like grew up in the golden age of television, in
Yeah.
my opinion. I mean, those that saw like the old shows back in the 70s and 60s probably disagree, but God, it was so good. There was rarely a show that you didn't enjoy during that time.
So Adaryll, this next question really is, for those that don't know Adaryll, Adaryll is a finely dressed man. Let's just say it that way. He's always
absolutely
always looking good. So this question is, if you were going to look the coolest in your school, what item of clothes are you putting on first?
Okay, so this is a little different than probably if you ask other people, because I went to private school. We had uniforms. However, when you to ninth grade, you had a lot of individuality with your ties. I brought it, man. I brought it.
I believe you did.
With the that just stopped at the bottom, just boom, flat. With the different materials, the different.
Oh yeah.
I remember the flat
like the ones
ties.
that Prince wore.
About those.
Say it again, Steve.
Like the ones that Prince wore.
I think Prince wore them. Everybody used to wear them.
Yeah.
I never had a piano tie because I felt a little tortured in my spirit being a saxophone man if I should wear a piano tie. So I never bought the piano tie. And then
and that was almost a staple of every '80s closet, wasn't it?
Every band person in the '80s had one of those at least.
True.
So and what you try to do with my school, if you ever seen the movie Dead Poets Society, that was basically my school, except we weren't boarding, we went home, but that was my school. So you had a uniform coat, and as a freshman you wore khakis. As a sophomore, you could bust out any color slacks you want, but hold on, because when you're a senior, you got to wear any color blazer you wanted to. So you come styling in a gray suit. Hey, fellas, looking good. I'm not wearing a blue blazer anymore. And try to finagle around as close as you could, breaking the dress code. Can I get a pair of, I can't remember what they were called, but they were basically slacks. They were almost hammer pants, kind of boom, ballooned out. How baggy can it come out before the assistant vice principal gets on you? You're always trying to press that
push the limits.
Oh yeah, and then the shoes. You had to have the shoes, the boots. Whatever. Just looking good. Had to be individual, looking good, even if you were in a static blue blazer situation. But if you look at my composite from 1990 as a graduating senior, you'll see a lot of dark color suits, and then boom, there I am, gray, light gray. Bam. So I love that. But yeah, it was all about the ties for the most part. And you'd be surprised how much individuality and style you could actually produce with a dress code. So
yeah.
Very cool. So I'm curious. So do you think that having a dress code, because to me, I'm not a fashion guy. I just, and I've said this before, but do you think having a dress code throughout your school years, did that give you a lot more sensitivity to how you dress and give you more reasons to want to dress unique and in your own style going forward? I'm just curious.
That's a good question. I will tell you that everybody I went to school with are good dressers now, still, and we would complain about the dress code every single day, 4 years straight. And before then, I went to private elementary school, and we just wore shirt and tie. We didn't have to wear a blazer. And we complained every single day about the dress code. But if I look at any of those guys now, and we're, upper 40s into our 50s, all those guys dress really well. So I think there's something to it for sure. And, to be honest with you, I feel like to some degree now, hey, we still, my high school was all boys, so we still got on each other. But I feel like it lessened the bullying as far as dress clothes go. But the not so sensitive part is that we just bullied each other on other things, So,
that topic was off the table, and everything else was in bounds.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh yeah, I mean, you couldn't go into the senior courtyard unless you were a senior. So what you didn't want to do is get pushed into the senior courtyard by a senior and then get harassed by seniors because you were not protected if you went into the senior courtyard as a senior. So, we found other ways to harass and get at each other, and I, of course, enjoyed it. So that's good for sure.
That's part of the fun. If you can't enjoy it, what's the point?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, Adaryll. So I want to know two questions that are kind of related. What was your first car? Sure. And at that point, what did you want your dream car to be?
I did not own a car until college, and it was like an old Suburban. But interestingly, my dream car in high school, they had just come out, was a Honda minivan. I didn't have a girlfriend. But look, y'all know me. I am off the charts extrovert. And all I wanted was to be able to take my people together, like 6 or 7. It was way more fun than 1 or 2. So I did in my life own a Honda minivan, and there was great rejoicing, But that's what I wanted. I didn't want a sports car. I thought that was stupid. Like, why is it just gonna be me and just some other fool? Like, that ain't cool. I think Corvettes,
I think that answer is so revealing about Adaryll's personality.
Totally.
He's a people person. He doesn't want to do things by himself. He's happier when he's with other people. That is a perfect answer to give you a portrait of Adaryll Jordan.
That question, man, we used to sit and talk about that question in 1989 and 1990, and my friends are going around and they're like, yeah, I want the, and they were just naming them off because we lived in Dallas, and my school it still is. It's in a pretty ritzy area in Dallas. It's near the Dallas Galleria. We saw all the cars. And I mean, there's, I want a Lamborghini. I want a Ferrari. And I was like, and then one of my friends said, I want a Honda Accord. And I'm like, oh yeah, I want a Honda minivan. Like, what did you want?
Take that.
But I want to take it fools, So
it was really. I bet you shut down that conversation. Like,
they know when you hear the truth,
That is so funny. It reminds me. Y'all remember those paper things you used to do, like with you had to like pick a piece of paper and it would tell you, it would predict like your future, like it would predict like you're going to live in a mansion and a.
Oh yes, MASH, right?
Yeah, MASH. Yeah. I bet Adaryll's the only one that was like hoping for the minivan to come out.
Come on,
man! Shucks, I got the Lamborghini.
Yeah, they would be like, "You're a minivan man." I'm like, "That's right."
That is awesome, man.
That sums him up to a T. That's perfect.
That's great. I got tell a funny story about Adaryll. So he didn't have a car in college till a little bit later on. So I did, and so many times I'd find that Adaryll, I'd be driving Adaryll around town or doing whatever we had to do, and every time he got in my car, within seconds he was asleep. I was like, "There's no way this guy's ever gonna be able to drive himself because he's gonna fall asleep behind the
wheel." It's so true. Yeah. Even to this day, I prefer flying to driving anywhere. I would fly to my next door neighbor's house. I mean, I prefer flight. Something about that constant motion of a vehicle. I'm like, oh, you're getting very sleepy. So, yep, it's all true.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, Joe, you're a kid going outside to play. What do you do?
We play football on the concrete, man. So it's touch football, but you would often fall. Any kind of sport, even if I wasn't good at it. But I started playing softball when I was 7 years old, so I would do that a lot. And then, y'all know, and people need to hear, and they need to know This is a part of history that people need to remember. I like the slides. Now, I'm not talking about these little, safety first slides that they have. I'm talking about like every single time your life is in jeopardy, you may go off the side. I'm from Dallas. If it's 100 degrees, you might lose lose yourself on that slide.
Yeah.
It's not just a slide, it's an adventure.
Yeah.
So I love the slide, man. I get on there, sometimes pull my shirt down real low so I wouldn't get burned.
Oh.
That slide, it was straight drop. If you couldn't see the bottom very well, that was a good slide.
Yeah, when you get your palms are getting sweaty going all the way up that metal ladder, all the way up to the very top. That's the good one.
That's one of my favorite things.
Only if it's a little shaky at the top. It's got to have a little shake to it, or it's not working.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
I drop a marble down first and watch how fast it goes, and get a little even more scared, and then put a little off, and you hit the bottom with some speed. Yeah. So little football on the sidewalks, on the concrete. Softball, and then the slides.
Yeah, sounds like a perfect trifecta.
Those metal slides in Texas, you could bowl. You could fry an egg on it. It gets so hot in the summertime. Oh my gosh! Not these days. You got the plastic ones with the guardrails on the side, and
I'm sure there's like some sort of a way that the like a car pillow would pop up if you go too fast at the
bottom. Yeah, they do not allow those anywhere anymore.
No.
Those are the truth.
Yep. That's right.
I saw that. Have you all seen that picture of the play on Facebook or places like that? It's those big, huge monkey bars, I guess what they used to call them on the playground. And it said, "I once died in elementary school off of this, and my mom told me to walk it off." Remember that? Have you seen that?
Yeah,
that's the greatest. So, yeah, I remember seeing those things. I'm like, how did we not break all of our necks on that thing? It's amazing. Now they wouldn't even allow those in school.
Yeah, softies.
Yeah.
So, Adaryll, that is the last of our planned questions. You think back to your childhood and going way back into those early days. Anything else you want to share with us?
Absolutely. I was thinking about Wayback Chronicles and this kind of shaped me too. So it kind of relates to an earlier question. We had commercials back in our day. I don't know what they're doing now, but, I get that there's all this action. You could put the car in zoom and give the background music and it's thrilling. But we had commercials. They were little stories. They had music. They had lyrics. It was like a whole experience just watching a commercial. And a commercial that pops in my mind more than any other is the Lowenbrow commercials. To tell you.
Wow.
Lowenbrow. The lyrics, "Here's to good friends. Tonight is kind of special. The beer we're told must be something more somehow. So tonight, let it be Lowenbrow." And
oh my gosh.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you, and this could be a whole other podcast too, but I'm a Christian. I've read the Bible a lot. And when I think about the Lowenbrow commercials, get ready, I think about Jesus.
Okay. You got to walk the listeners through that. How do you get from Lowenbrow to Jesus?
Because there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm still very involved in the church world. I retired out of the church world working at mega churches. Don't you know they spend a lot of money trying to get people to just get together? I had specific roles where I was in charge of small groups trying to make people get together. And you look at a Lowenbrow commercial. Okay, here's a Lowenbrow commercial, a bachelor party where guys are just roasting each other, and they're like, "Hey, here's your last hours of freedom." And the guy gets up and like, speech. He goes, "You're beautiful." I'm like, ain't that? That's like Jesus and Lowenbrow right there. The Bible talks about Jesus being at the parties, turning water into wine. I'm telling y'all, I'm going to write about this. I even told my pastor already, I'm like, and we were in a room with some younger people. He's a little bit close to my age. I'm like, I'm going to write about Jesus and Lowenbrow. He's like, yeah. And everybody's like, Lowenbrow. And I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm going to write about it. It's fantastic.
That is awesome.
But check these out. Because I was examining the Lowenbrow commercials because they're amazing. So there's the bachelor party. And then there's a guy, he comes in after work. There's his buddies there. And they said, "What do you want?" They said, "A good steak and Lowenbrow."
Yeah.
Hey, I did
Yeah.
a hard day's work, and what I'm ordering, and the guys are like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Here's me and my
Yeah.
buddies, a good steak and lowenbrow. And then there's
Mhm.
like a guy with his buddies, right? And his buddies come in and they're like, congratulations, you just got promoted to regional manager, and everybody comes around him. I mean, I'm like, that's the stuff right there. And then there's guys that are running, and and you guys know from our experiences together, you're challenging each other. He goes,
Yeah.
"You gonna go 10 miles a day?" He goes, "You go 10 miles. You gonna buy me a beer?" He goes, "You go 10 miles, I'll buy you a Lowenbrow."
It's even more special.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like all that stuff, all of those, every single commercial. There's guys on a fishing trip. They get a little cabin and they walk to the cabin and the guy left them a note and they said, "I left you a little something special in the fridge." And they're like, "Hey, it's Lowenbrow. Like, really cares about me, And then they started. I talked about all these guys, but in 1982,
Oh man.
they started bringing in women into the commercials, and so there's like people on a houseboat, and they're just sitting there, and they're finally, I mean, you can just tell from the commercial, like, man, life does not get any better than this. You can
Man.
tell before they say a word, but then the guy busts out. He just goes, "I think we finally got this down to an art." Lord,
Yeah, I'm realizing that
man.
in my life I've had a good steak.
oh
And
yeah,
I've had a good steak with a beer, but I haven't had a good steak with
with
a
the
low and brow.
Hey man, with the Lowenbrow.
Dude.
tonight is kind of special. And then I got one last one. The guy comes over and he's got a case of Lowenbrow, and he goes, "Hey man, what are you doing?" He goes, "Well, the other day, I was having this party and I didn't have enough beer, so you let me borrow beer from a party." And the guy goes, "That was beer. This is Lowenbrow."
Lowenbrow.
And then they just kind of do the commercial, and you kind of do, they're doing a plug, and then the final plug line is, "Maybe you ought to borrow things more often." You know, and my point is this, I love, I mean, I have a 20-year-old son who helps me with my technology. I have a 10-year-old son who like is doing the video games and showing me all the videos. I got a 16-year-old daughter who helps me with music stuff. I mean, the cool thing about looking back at situations like that, and the cool thing about what y'all are doing with this podcast, is that when you look back at those times, and that commercial like that is the epitome of those times. I love all the technology. I think it's great. But what we miss is, um, I have friends in Maine. I have friends in California. I have friends in Oregon. And I can pick up at any time and call them on FaceTime and see their face. But I can't necessarily go down to the bar and have them walk over to my house with a case of Lowenbrow.
Yeah.
It's different. And
Yeah,
so
it is.
I talk to my oldest son about this a lot because he can process it. I have taken my oldest son out to dinner and given him a hard time about not having enough fun, about getting together and having brotherhood. And as you guys know, you're all
Mhm.
out there. He's a part of our fraternity now.
Mhm.
I don't give him a hard time about practicing music. He practices real hard. I don't give him a hard time about whatever his activities are. He's in the drum line, so you know how that can be. I don't give him a hard time about that. But I tell him and I tell his fraternity brothers, I'm going to give you a hard time if you don't realize and take time um, to take advantage of the special opportunities that you have to be with one another. I'm
Yep.
sitting here looking at y'all, and y'all are in 3 different parts of the state of Texas right now, and
Mhm.
I'm in a different part, and that's all good. I love seeing your faces. I love talking to you, but you can't walk over to my house right now with a Lowenbrow.
That is
And
true.
and that is something that
I
we
can
need.
DoorDash one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you can't. But
Please do.
I need you to order you. And so I would say 3 things about it. The as great as so many things are about today. I mean, I can get on a plane and be somewhere quick and be back quick, and be talking to people halfway around the world, and boom, 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 boom. Those kind of things, the Lowenbrow commercials, the cartoons, the TV shows, the way that things are constructed, um, really, I feel like had an advantage to allowing us to express love to one another. Um, I'm not going to poo-poo what we have now, but I felt like advantage back then. Um,
Mhm.
it encouraged us to do good for one another. You're in each other's faces, and you're loving on each other. And so you want to do good for each other. It's just a natural thing that happens. And then that eventually, I'd say, affected your impact on others. Because if I saw that my neighbors were having a party, man, I mean, where I grew up, I had an automatic invite, you know. I'm getting my house together right now. My neighbors are driving by, and I was like, hey, when I get it together, we're going to have a party. You know, I'm going to play my sax for you, all that stuff. You know, the guy who sold me his house said, I picked you to buy this house because I needed to pick my neighbors. And I saw those barbecue smoking grills that are coming in. I figured you'd be the best one. So I'll say, good choice. You know, I've done barbecue skills 3 times. You know, we're going to have a good time.
He chose wisely.
You know? And if he's real good, Steve, if he's a really good neighbor to me, I might get him a Lowenbrow.
There you go.
There you go.
So all of those, you know, it's just an absolutely special time, and I love it that y'all are reflecting on them because they were incredibly special. And I hope that people will continue to look back on those. I feel like when you take the time to look back at those things, you realize, hey, here's some good things that we may need to, that bears repeating, you know. Or as Steve, if it's worth doing, what's your phrase that you use?
Is it juice worth the squeeze?
Juice worth the squeeze. And I absolutely think what y'all are doing on this podcast, taking time to look back, will help you go forward really well.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It just dawned on me, you know, you think about that famous Aerosmith song, and words are, something's wrong with the world today. I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Lowenbrow. We just don't drink that anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
We don't have our Lowenbrow moments. We
don't.
You know, I got a friend in Atlanta who would, at the drop of a hat, get on the plane and help me with some things.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's really good. But I would also appreciate if I have a neighbor close, and the Bible talks about that too, having a neighbor close by, you know, that we have a relationship with. And so, I mean, I'm in a new area. I'm getting to know my neighbors pretty well. They're really cool, but I'm not Lowenbrow cool with them yet. And that should be a goal, you know, because once I hang up the phone with y'all, I'd rather be hanging out with you and making some burgers that were awesome. But
you and me both.
That's the Lowenbrow moments. And so I loved it that I just got to see y'all all together because those are Lowenbrow moments, you know, and we miss out on those. But I really am thankful. I get to hang around some of these young bucks a lot. And when the kids I love are the ones that actually listen to us old farts. And then they go and try it. They're like, hey, that was good. And I'm like, I'm not that smart. I just saw a bunch of Lowenbrow commercials when I was I'm just trying to be like Lowenbrow. Really cool things. And so I'm looking forward to your other interviews and what other people thought were really cool moments and that helped them. You know, I feel like those kind of moments, those kind of commercials, those kind of TV shows, they really shaped me. And so I'm kind of an old soul with a lot of things. And, you know, and that's what I think about. I think about treating people like a Lowenbrow commercial. You know, I want to treat people like they're $1 million, like they matter. And that's naturally what happens when you live that kind of lifestyle. You want to do good for each other. You express your love to each other, and then you have an impact on other people. And other people are watching you, and they're like, hey, I need to go have my Lowenbrow moments with my friends. You know, and it's just, it reproduces itself, and it's a good thing for the whole world.
Yeah. It's awesome. No, while you were talking, Daryl, I did I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for Lowenbrow, and it says from 1977 to 1985, their jingle, "Here's to Good Friends," was their jingle, and it was, I think that's kind of what you're getting at. It's about, you know, having good friends, having good relationships, or having those friends that you can get together and just share a moment with, and that's I'm blessed, honestly, to be able to have Keith and Steve. We've been friends for a long time. We text each other several times a day. We have good moments. We have difficult moments where we need to kind of be there to support each other, and thankful for those friendships. And, you know, they started back in the day when we were sharing Lowenbrows together. Not necessarily
100%.
Lowenbrows, but it, you know, it's just cool. We planted some firm roots back then, and they continue to flourish even today, 30 years from then. So it's very cool. Good message.
Thanks, man. So here is Good Friends.
Yes, here's the Good Friends.
Yes. Right. And I'm thankful that tonight was kind of special. I appreciate you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Daryl, thanks for joining us, and thanks for going way back
Hey,
on the Wayback Chronicles podcast.
my pleasure. You guys continued excellence with this. Appreciate and love each and every one of you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Same here, man. Same here.
Thanks,
Well, that's
everybody.
a wrap. That's a wrap for our very first interview. Daryl, thanks again for being a part of it. This is a very good interview, very special time. And I will never read the story in the Bible about Jesus turning water to wine without thinking water to Lowenbrow. So what kind of wedding feast would it have been if he'd have just turned it to Lowenbrow? You know, I mean, it would have been nuts. But anyway, good stuff. Thanks again for the time, and thanks everybody for listening. And look forward to the next podcast coming up. It'll be about 1978. So we'll be diving into a new era, the 70s. The first time we've had a message, or first time we've had a show focused on the 70s. So it'll be great, guys. Looking forward to it. So
Us
for
too.
the Wayback Chronicles, this is Noel and Steve and Keith. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Wayback Chronicles. All shows are written and produced by Noel, Keith, and Steve. Massive thanks to those who made these memories possible for us through the years. All songs, sounds, and effects have been attributed in the comments section and through links listed on waybackchronicles.podbean.com. We look forward to taking you way back again in the very near future.